Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody is having a lovely weekend. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. Alright, guys, so we're going to do a little preparation for the upcoming trading week. We're going to kick it off here with the indices. We're going to go over VIX. We're going to go over the Mag 7 stocks. And then I have a few trade ideas going into the next week just for you. All right, so starting off here with SPY, guys, we'll come over here to the weekly chart. I'm going to point out this is the first indecision candlestick we've had since our little run. All right, you had your little pullback, but, you know, as we can see, we had a strong push up into this area of resistance. I'm just going to say I think upside is limited. I think we are probably going to continue a little bit higher from here up into the 200 daily moving average. Or I think we get a little pullback to start the week, and then I think it makes sense to head a little bit higher. So, if we start the week off with a push, expect we're probably going to find sellers in this area between 575 and 585. But if we start the week off with a pullback, we are going to look for you to try and defend this area right over here around 556.04. And then that'll be right near the daily 21 EMA. And then we're going to look for a push up to the 200 daily moving average, which is currently at 573. But then we have resistance at 575.35. And then we have the 0.786 Fibonacci retracement from the whole move down at 585, which is right around our 584.88 resistance. Expect sellers in this area. I'm just going to say I do think we continue a little higher with how things are set up, but I don't think we're going much higher before having a decent sized pullback. And on that decent sized pullback, if it comes, that is when you can, put on more risk. That is, if you're riding these things out, if you're long in this pullback over here, all right, if you're playing this breakout that is, probably going to come, in my opinion, then yeah, you're going to look to take profits around 573, 575. And then as you get closer up to 585 up here, guys, I'd say really just start expecting sellers to step in. Doesn't mean, position in shorts, very, overly heavy for yourself. It does not mean that at all. It just means that is the area where there's absolutely no reason to keep a bunch of risk on. And just overall do what you got to do. Now, on the downside, we're going to pay attention to 561.70. If that breaks, we're watching 556.04. Now, ideally, this holds, okay? We don't want to lose that. That's where the daily 21 EMA is. As we can see, this is where we want to start seeing buyers. Even if we get underneath it one day, we want to recover it the next. All right, so, worst case scenario this week, if we're going to, get up here without having, pull back all the way down here to like 520, yeah, you want to hold right here. Maybe not 520, but, 520, 530. Yeah, if we don't want to come back down there before visiting the 200 daily moving average here, we are going to want to, at worst case, hold the 549.68, which is still, about $15 underneath current price. All right, so that's where you're watching on the downside and the upside on SPY. We're going to come over here to QQQ. And I'm going to point out you have the same indecision candlestick. You are here in the golden pocket as well on QQ, right? So this is the exact spot in between the 0.618 and this area you broke down from up at 500, that 499.70 resistance right there. It was support, and then you broke down. So now we're expecting it to be resistance. Between here and 500, we were expecting sellers to step in. Again, I still think you go a little bit higher. We haven't tested SPY's 200 daily moving average. I think it is probable with how things are set up. I'm going to go over that in this video. But yeah, that would mean QQ could go a little bit higher as well, which I'm just going to be targeting 500 if we can get above some key levels, okay? And what are those key levels? Well, guys, if we can get above 490.91, I'm just going to show you on the 15-minute time frame. All right, this is exactly where we want to see a 15-minute close above. We want to start pushing back above there. I don't know exactly where you're going to open up on Monday, but we want to push above 490.91. Above there, all right, you're getting above the 200 daily moving average, okay? So above there, we're probably going to move to the next stop, which is 493.62, and above there, that's that big breakdown level. It was previous support. It's now going to be flipped into resistance. We're very likely to find sellers around this level, which is going to be 499.70. On the downside, if we start breaking down, don't get too antsy, guys. We're just in it. We had an inside bar over here. So honestly, coming into, Monday, guys, you don't even want to be trading the inside of this range. You don't, because this day was full of traps. I can tell you for a fact, Friday was just kind of a slow, choppy kind of day over here. It didn't really give you all that much until you got this end of the pump over here that, in the end didn't really do anything crazy. It just kind of faded into the end of the day here. I'm just going to say this is not what you want to be trading. The only reason we had a bunch of traps is because, we had the inside bar. That is a recipe for disaster. You don't need to stress yourself out over that. All you have to do here is just wait for the break above 490.91 or wait for the breakdown of 484.17. I'll make it real simple for you, and I'll make these blue levels right here just so you can have a real clear picture here. Above here, we're likely coming up here. Below here, I'm not going to say likely coming down here, but we definitely have this on the table down there. Underneath 484.17, we're going to be watching 479.56, 477.20, and 472.91. Worst case scenario this week, we want to pull back to 472.91 and then find buyers there, because if you don't defend there, you are probably going to, have a larger pullback. And at that point, we're going to be watching 466.43 and 462.43. All right, that is underneath 472.91. We have 466.43 and 462.43. But again, worst case scenario, we want this to hold right here. Okay, if we break down from this 2-day range we got going on here, we want this to hold. This is right around the daily 21. If you are going to get bought up to 500 following this pullback, then we want that to hold. Doesn't really matter if you sweep this over here. Just hold above your short-term moving average and things will look a whole lot better. Okay, and ideally, you don't do that, and we just get this, one little last push, because I still think at the end of the day, downside is going, or upside is going to be limited. Whether you get this pullback and then you push up in this area, we know there's going to be sellers in this area. It's the same thing over here on SPY. We know for a fact. All right, this is where you broke down from. This is, final stand over here, 0.786 Fibonacci retracement level over here for SPY. All right, for sellers, that's your last stand. On top of that, you have the 200 daily moving average right here. This is all just going to act as one big area of supply, and I can almost guarantee we have a ton of sell orders there. So, whether we hit it after a pullback or before a pullback, you're expecting sellers in this area. I'll just mark it out here with this green circle for you. This area is your short zone. Okay, that's where you take off your risk and consider putting on a short position, and then you're going to target somewhere down here. Okay, it's as simple as that, guys. But yeah, you really just have to wait for those 2-day ranges to break over here on SPY and QQ for Monday, and you'll have a much better idea of where things are going next. All right. Aside from that, guys, we're going to come over here to VIX, and I'm just going to point out you didn't close out, in a bullish way, but I will definitely say most weeks you actually get a gap up over here on VIX. I was just looking at that right before recording this video, and most weeks we do get that gap up on VIX. So do not, crap your pants if you get the gap up on VIX and the markets pull back. It is fine. All right, it is fine. I'm going to point out how on like most of these setups here, guys, we are set up for further upside this week. And yeah, all right, so let's get into it. First things first, guys, I'm going to point out Tesla. All right, so I think this one's going to be leading the Mag 7 stocks this week. Whether you pull back or not, I think you're going to be continuing higher through 307.04 this week, and then you're probably going to run up to 326.59. You have a base here that took, just about 2 months to build. You started breaking out of it. You got a bullish engulfing candlestick this week, and you peaked your head above the weekly 21 EMA. I think it is likely that we have a big, we have one of these big weeks where we have a few very green days here, right around the corner, guys. I don't really get how people are bearish on this name, but don't listen to other people. Listen to what your intuition is telling you. If you're seeing stuff on a chart, zone out the noise, guys. Silence it and just lock in. Okay. I'm telling you right now, I've been watching this specific setup. I'm not going to listen to all that crap, all that noise. I'm telling you right now, Tesla's very likely going to go on a very decent run. I didn't like how you put in this decent sized upper wick here on the daily time frame. You did end up giving back, more than 50% of the whole move right off the bat there. Okay, guys. So, not the best look, honestly. Not really the best look at all. But I will just tell you over here, this is something that I think is very likely going to result in higher prices. This is something that is, a big breakout here, pulled back, retested it. As long as you hold 294.86 this week, guys, well, specifically, as long as you hold it on Monday, you're either going to go or you're not. That is when you have the green light, okay? Hold this level over here, push above 307.04. You get up here really quick. That automatically is just about a $20 move up to 326.59. You don't have anything in between here and here. As we could see, above this little area, which we're sitting right in, okay? You don't have anything over here. You really don't. It just goes straight from, right here price was, boom, 1 hour candle. You just come all the way down here, okay? This thing is getting ready for continuation. This is the 4-hour chart. Does not look bad by any means at all. But then you come over here to the daily time frame, and the thing just looks like a monster, guys. This was your bull flag consolidation above your 21 EMA. And, I'm just saying, it looks like it just got its breakout. If it pulls back, it's going to provide a buying opportunity. All you have to do, if it pulls back, buy 294.86, risk 290. Okay. If you get faked out and then price quickly comes back above here and you see $300, price get above 300, that means, you probably just got stopped down as a fake out before it's, now moving up. And in my opinion, it's not the worst idea to just hop right back in. Okay. Regardless, this move has been one, that's been loading here. I've been patient on it and it's now happening. We caught this little thing over here. I'm telling you right now, right here is about to be that second little leg of this move. Okay. So that was the original base breakout there that we got right off of here. It was picture perfect. Again, don't listen to the crowd, guys. Don't listen to people online. If you're looking at a chart, you've been patient on this thing. This thing is an immaculate setup. Take advantage of it, okay? This is one of the cleanest charts that I've been able to, point to recently. And, it's second only to this guy over here, Hood, all right? And the only reason, I was pounding the table so hard on Hood is because I saw PLTR, okay? And I got my little piece of the pie, but at the same time, this thing ripped absolute freaking faces. And, yeah, we had the same exact setup over here on Hood. I'm just telling you guys, this is now the next best setup. This is the sharpest thing we have on the market. You got above the 200 daily moving average on Friday. Looks like it's going to continue. Use 290 as your risk level. But really this thing's bullish as long as it's above 270.78. If you start getting under 270.78, it's probably cooked. All right. I don't think it's going to really come back down to these lows. And I know they have the robo taxi announcement, I think in like 2-3 weeks. So, I'm honestly anticipating a run up into that event, maybe a sell the news event, but, with how the chart is definitely set up here, this thing could fly. All right. This monthly candle right here looks like it looks like, from judging off of what we got these previous 2 monthly candles, it wants to go up. This is a very narrow bodied candle right now. All right. It's going to expand. My guess is it expands to the upside. That's that. All right, so that's Tesla Mag 7 stock number 1. Number 2, we're going to go over Nvidia. Nvidia's got this, 3 white soldiers pattern going on right here. And, this is just a continuation pattern. When you see this thing, that is just when you have 3 green candlesticks next to each other, where on the 2 bodies following the first one over here, it starts up in a gap down and you close above the high, the previous week's high. And you do that for 2 weeks in a row. And that is exactly what we have here. You got the gap down, close above that high, the gap down, close above that high. Okay, bulls are in control. They're buying the gap downs, they're buying these dips. And, I'm just going to say this daily chart is not looking bad at all. It looks like we very easily can get a pop up here to the 200 daily moving average, which is sitting at 125 right now. Okay. So, it pulled back on Friday and the low of the day is 115.21. Where it broke out of was at 115.10. All right, guys. So, if your levels, and you're not seeing it in real time, if your levels are not bringing the reactions that you want and that you need as a trader to see on your chart, okay, If they're not bringing the reactions, you don't have much to base trades around, okay? If that's something you want help with, the link will be down below. I'll be live trading every day, but what I also do is I provide you with game plans every single day for 1 to 3 option trades a day, as well as SPY, QQ, NQ, and ES, and I will give you the levels, and those levels are where I base my trades off of, okay? I'm just telling you right now, guys, 115, that was the big breakout level over here in the video. We very clearly are seeing buyers 2 days in a row as we pull back into that level. If we could just pop above 118.68 now, we are probably going to have a straight shot up to 122.89. That is probably going to happen all in one day. We're probably going to have another big one just like that, or a big, impulsive move, 1 to 2 day move just like that, or just like that. I think that is what we have following what we, just got here, this little pullback. But worst case scenario, this thing's going to pull back. You don't want it to lose 110.82. You want it to hold last week's low, which is going to be right here at that level. I'll just make that blue so you guys can clearly see the levels that we're going off of. Lose 115.10. That's your breakout level. You don't want to lose there, but if you do, worst case scenario, you want to hold 110.82. If you lose 115.10, come down to 112.28. Look for buyers to step in there, because if you lose 112.28, you have risk of coming down to 110.82, and you really don't even want to test that level, because if you lose that, yeah, this could be over. I don't think it's going to be over, but it can be if you start losing some key levels. But other than that, guys, look for upside above 118.68 up to 122.89, 124.44 after that, and then you have the 200-day sitting right above at 125. Above there, you have 129.08, and then there's this little level you broke down from. You got some reactions going on around there. All right, so that's Nvidia, Mag 7 stock number 2. All right, so here's number 3. We got Amazon. And, I'm just going to say, 2 out of 7 Mag 7 stocks so far that we just went over, they're looking bullish. They're looking like they're going to continue. Well, what is Amazon doing? It prints a bullish engulfing candlestick on the weekly time frame here. All right, so not only did you have the base breakout last week, well, you're kind of just consolidating in the breakout zone here. So, you tried breaking out. This week, you actually got a breakout, and it came off of a bullish engulfing candlestick right here over that 192.65 level, okay? So, strong weekly close, in my opinion. I know it doesn't look the strongest over here, but at the same time, this can very easily get a little bit more of a pop here. That's what I'm saying. I think we get a little bit more upside. I don't think it's much more upside, but I think we get a little bit more, and I think this is the last round of just really clean setups that we're going to see these pops, just like Tesla over there. I got a few more that I think are going to get some pops. I'll show you at the end of the video. But above 194.69, we're going to be targeting 198.34, and that's going to have that 200-day sitting right above at 199. On the downside, if it pulls back into 192.65, continue looking for buyers around this area. You want to hold here, but ultimately just looking for the continuation, that breakout move above 194.69, and then that'll give you a straight shot up to 198.34 all in one day. $4 move. All right, that'll pay you. On the downside, if you do lose 188.65, you don't really want to. You see the battle going on around that level over here. If you lose there, bad things are going to happen. Okay, if you lose there, you risk coming down here to 184.40. Lose there, at that point it's just clipped, and it's probably going to have a larger pullback here, and maybe it's not getting up to the 200 days as quick as I thought it would. But again, I think it makes much more sense to just let all these things that are so close to the 200 day, just let them test it, and then we could sell off of that. Okay, so that's number 3. Microsoft, Mag 7 stock number 4, and I'm just going to say, weekly chart, is this really something you want to be shorting? It could be, could not be. I'm just going to say, I think we got something like this loan over here where we're going to probably put in a reversal candlestick if we pop up higher. If not, we're probably just going to consolidate. I don't expect this to go anywhere, but I'm also telling you, probably not the best idea to short, such strength here, such a strong move. It's just not a good idea. Yes, I do think it's going to pull back. Yes, I have definitely pointed out that you have this massive monthly gap. But we don't know exactly how that's going to shape up. And right now, this is shaping up to be a breakaway gap where you got this, big gap up, had this little range going on, a 4-day range here. The low was right over here. High was right there. And you're starting to try and get above it these last 2 trading sessions. So, really, if you get a deal that closes above 439.44 at that point, this thing's probably going to start going. But, real talk, the top of that big gap up candle. That was at 436.99. Do you guys see what I see? All right, rejection, 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 acceptance, more acceptance above the key level. Okay, so if we see 443.67, if we see price get above 443.67, at that point, I think it's probably just going to continue going, and I think it's going to add on the more fuel to the fire over there on Nasdaq to just push up a little bit higher. S&P 500 test that 200-day, sitting right above. On the downside, watch 436.99. If buyers, stop defending there, they've defended it the past 2 days. If they stop defending that level, then guess what? Just watch 430. If you give up 430, yeah, you're probably getting a deeper pullback. You're probably gonna get under 424.90. I imagine you're not gonna get all the way back down here, but even if you do, you have your 200 daily moving average down here. You're probably, probably just gonna have a big battle for quite some time if you get back down here. We'll see what happens. Okay, but that's number 4. Number 5, we got Meta, guys. All right, and just like Microsoft, I'm gonna say it's one I don't think's really gonna go anywhere in the short term here. I think it could spend a whole week pulling back. We'll see what happens. Okay, but real talk, is this something you want to be shorting? That's what I want to get at. Is it something you want to be shorting? Probably not. It hasn't really gone all that. It hasn't gone anywhere, guys. You have this base, you have this breakout, you haven't retested it. You've just been putting this consolidation candle right here following the week. You're above the weekly 21 EMA. You're now above the daily moving average, the 200 daily moving average. If you pull back, you're going to just look for buyers in this area. And if not, maybe you come back down to this area, but I highly doubt it at this point. This thing is probably just going to consolidate here for another 1 to 2 weeks and then just push up higher. So, that's why I'm still in the market, guys. I don't think, if we're talking about the broad market here, I'm still in the camp that I don't think we're coming back down to these lows. All right. Like, if we're just talking about SPY and QQQ, I don't think we have the Mag 7 set up. I don't think, just tickers are set up across the board for that move down. Can it happen? Yeah. But like, I don't think the fear around tariffs, I don't think what we're getting is actually going to match the fear. I just don't. And as we just continue seeing confirmation of that, I think the market is going to get, less volatile dips over here. I don't think we're going to just fall off a cliff and come back down to these lows. I think what we have is a setup where, maybe we go a little bit higher, stall out right up here for 1 to 2 weeks, pull back, maybe down here. It's probably just going to get bought up. I don't think it's safe really just looking for down here, because at this point, guys, you're now going to have to get through this big area. This was the neckline to your base right over here around 550. You're going to have to get through that whole area if you come down. So it's, much safer bet just to put on the shorts between 575, 585, and then play for them down into 550 and then take them off. And then you see the reaction that happens here. If you start letting it slip, next spot is going to be down here in the golden pocket. You're probably going to get down into the golden pocket, all right, which is around 520. So, if you don't hold 550, let's say you start breaching 540, yeah, all right, you're probably going to start coming back down here. We'll play it as we see it. But, this is the spot where if we push up into, you're expecting sellers to be there. So that's why I say upside is limited. But if we do see a pullback, I think across the board, and that's just what I was showing you on Meta, I think it's just going to be met with buyers. Like, just look at Meta over here. It's the same concept, all right? You just broke up from this base. Right there. Here's your neckline. If you pull back into it, you're probably going to find buyers, whether it be here at the 200 daily moving average, that yellow line, and the weekly 21 EMA, or if it's just going to be a little bit below at the neckline of your base that you just broke out. You're not expecting all that much downside. So, as far as putting on, calling for a big short over here, I don't think it makes sense. We don't have anything, drastic to go off of here. And even if it does, price is back above the 21 EMA. Let's just look over here. It could be like that, but we'll see. If we now lose it, then let's get cautious, okay? That's what happened right before the 2022 bear market, where you just kind of stayed under it until you started getting a few week closes down here, recovered the 200 daily moving average, it was clipped. But as of, over here, Yeah, we're still above the 200. We're now back above the 21. If we lose the 21, that's going to be room for concern. So, honestly, we don't want to come back down here, which is why I say, if we're going to get bought up here on the indices, it's probably just going to be a shallow pullback. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I think we're going to, hold the 21 EMA here on the daily chart, which would be somewhere right over here. That would be us sweeping 556.04. And that's literally right where the 21 EMA here is on the daily time frame. If you lose that, it starts looking a bit sloppy. That's just, let's come over here. All right, if you start losing it, price almost got down to the 50% retracement of that whole thing. If you start losing it, you could start coming all the way back down here. That's what I was just saying, 530. If you don't hold 550, all right, which you don't want to test 550. You want to find buyers off of 556.04. All right, you test 550, you risk losing it. And then if you lose it, bad things happen. You wind up all the way down here, 533.50. You don't want to see that happen. Okay, so that's my thoughts over here. But come back over to the meta, guys. If you see the sellers over here, just expect buyers either here or it's going to happen from a little bit lower. But it really doesn't make sense to really fade back through this area. But if it happens, it happens. We're gonna see. Apple over here, on the daily time frame, it still looks like buyers are attempting to put in a little base down here around our 198.23 level. If we could see them pop a price above 265, watch for move up to 203.51. If price could reclaim 203.51, that's above the daily 21 EMA. At that point, look for these next key levels, which is 208.42 and then 212.94. On the weekly time frame, we can see it doesn't really have the prettiest look here, but all hope is not lost. You did not take out this low yet. If you do violate 189.81, you're probably coming back down to the next area, which is 183 to 186.50, 0.618 fib, down into this key level, 183. All right, last Mag 7 stock we're going to go over is Google. And, I'm just going to say it's pretty obvious. This thing is weak compared to everything else. This is not a stock you should be long right now. You could do whatever you want. No financial advice will be given on this channel. Do whatever you want with your money. I'm telling you for a fact, you're going to have a much better time longing the leaders, longing the ones with strength, than longing the laggers, the Googles of the stock market. Goog is, honestly, it's been a lagger a lot recently. Over the last, honestly, year, I've seen this Google not really move with the crowd a lot of the time. And I'm telling you right now, you just really have no reason to be going long on this. I don't care how, fundamentally sound the business is. You could buy dips, but don't plan on selling them anytime soon. This is very clearly, a little bear flag where you just start breaking down from. And it doesn't look like something it's pretty. It looks like something that's probably going to have another down week. You're probably going to take out this low, and then you're going to put a bullish divergence here on the weekly RSI. And that's when I think it is very safe to start getting long on Goog. It is very safe to start looking for a reversal setup here on the smaller time frames, which, in terms of the weekly time frame, the smaller time frame is going to be the daily chart. All right, so that does it for our Mag 7 stocks, guys. Now I am going to be going over some of these trade ideas that I put together for you guys coming into the following week. All right, so the first one I'm actually going to point out is Walmart. And Walmart is coming into earnings on Thursday. And I'm just going to point out we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, 5, and 6. The last 6 earnings moves here, okay, this pattern did not repeat the over here. The 2 before that, it did not repeat. So let's just delete that right there, okay? But the last 6 earnings moves, which is the last year and a half, have all led to gap ups or gap downs, and we have gotten continuation. So what you see right here measured out, these are taking from that gap up or gap down day, that earnings day right there. That's taking right from the close, and then that's just going out, between 2 and 4 weeks. Okay, and average is 3 weeks. You're gonna be getting around a 5% move in 2 to 3 weeks. But really all I'm trying to point out here is when Walmart does end up having an earnings gap, which every single one of these created an earnings gap in one direction or the other, it could it continues going in that direction over the following few weeks. And that is your chance to follow along with the trend, hop on the trend with shorter dated contracts. You know, if you want to buy something a month out, this is highly probable that you are going to be getting paid. In this instance right here, if you bought 30 days out, if you bought something that was $5 out of the money, and it's going for, you know, I think you can, I'll just look at premiums real quick. I haven't pulled up already on Webull over here on the Walmart option chain here. You know, you can buy something right now like the June 20 expiration with 40 days on it. Current price is $96.72. The 100 strike is going for $260. Okay, so you know that's the equivalent of, and this is before earnings, guys. This is before earnings when they have a little more juiced up premiums, which I'm just going to argue these are not juiced up at all. I'm just going to say I don't think it's a terrible idea to start, you know, just put on a starter position in these before earnings so you could get a little bit more piece of the pie there. I don't think it's a bad idea. But you know, real talk, you catch one of these, you know, these are like 5% moves. Well, what is 5% of $100, guys? You're catching about a $5 move. The 100C go to the 95C, they go from $260 to $520, guys. That is your 100% gain on a $5 move over here, and you're buying 40-day out calls. That is something that has a 100% hit rate over the you know previous 1.5 years here. The last 6 times this catalyst has came to us. You could have done the same thing over here off of this gap down. This was the only instance recently where you had a gap down over here. Well, you had one right over here as well, actually. But you know, over here, that's another -5 in only 3 trading in 2 more trading sessions. Actually, now that I'm looking at that, 2 trading sessions, you had another $5 move down over here. You know, it took a little bit longer over here. It took a whole, to get to the bottom. It took 25 trading sessions, but from that close, even over the following trading session, the following few there, you could have shorted that pop. Okay, on that next day, you could have shorted the pop, and literally on that same day, you could have sold that thing, down 1.6%. So that would be $1.60, $2 right now in current Walmart prices. Okay, so this is enough to get you paid. Draw your own trade plan off of what I just described. But if you just want to steal what I just talked about, guys, all you are going to do is you are going to wait to see if this thing gaps up. You are going to long on that close, or you're going to wait for that first, few day pullback there, and you're going to buy calls 30 to 60 days out, and that is going to be your 50 to 100% gain over the following few weeks. So that is trade idea number 1. The second one I am going to point out, guys, is him. So this is just a hype / momentum stock right now, which I'm just going to say I think this thing is going back up to all-time highs here. I'm just going to point out, you see this increasing volume. That's cool and all, right? You see the increasing stock price. That's also cool. Do you see how freaking quick stock price is increasing right now? Do you see how quick the volume is spiking right now? The last week was the earnings week. This week was not. You had heavier. You legit had. Well, never mind. I take it back. Last week was your announcement. I got my facts wrong right there. Okay, you caught me. But yeah, over here, you guys could tell 2 weeks in a row, increasing volume. You had a big catalyst last week. You had a big catalyst this week. The one this week was earnings. The one last week, that was just something that got announced overnight. But I figured they're going to probably talk about that on the earnings call this time around. If investors got hyped before earnings, I imagine they're probably going to get hyped off the same exact catalyst post earnings. And now I'm just going to say, guys, this chart looks like it is going to be coming up to a new all-time high in the short term, probably over the next 1 to 2 weeks. I think if you have a little bit of consolidation here where you get this range, this, about 10% range building out, 20%, we'll say about 15, 20% range. If you get that developing here for a few days here and we just consolidate, I am probably going to take my shot long on this a few weeks out at that point, because I think we're probably going to be right around the corner from a big old day like that, 20-30% day. And then, even after that comes, hey, all right, maybe price just cools off and then has another day. So this is definitely one to keep on your radar. I just kind of gave you the plan there. Size accordingly, guys. It's not very easy playing these names, but they can be lucrative. So that is really the plan there. We're going to wait and see if we get this little consolidation. I'm not telling you just along it here, but if we see that, I think we're probably literally going to mimic a move like that, considering the big ass volume that's coming in. Part of my French. All right. Next one I'm going to point out is one I already gave you. I pounded the freaking table. I really hope you guys got paid on this one. All right. So we got paid off that. And, you know, Tesla's the next one that I think is just clear as day to me. That's the one I'm going to pound the table on right now. It's Tesla. Okay. But yeah, hood over here, guys. I think with how this thing just closed out on the weekly time frame and how this monthly candle looks over here, guys, you know, I think this thing can extend up into high 60, 70, honestly, this month. On the weekly chart, this is exactly like Palantir. This is just like PLTR. I was pounding the table over here, and you know, I was pounding the table here and over here when it recovered. To be transparent, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, like probably a lot of other people online. If you guys are new here, guys, just understand I do provide analysis here 5 days a week. I give you guys pretty much everything you need to pull profit out of this market consistently. I give it absolutely free to you. If you want a bit more of a personalized experience with me, I will be live trading every single day in the Discord, taking trades on NQ and ES, SPY, QQQ, and then, you know, I will just be commentating on price action and updating on, you know, option trade stuff throughout the day, as well as I just give the alerts and stuff like that as well. But yeah, link will be down below for that. And, you know, you could just find out about all of this in advance. But I definitely do my best, and I put in a decent ass chunk of my time into providing free content for everyone out there, so everybody can build up to, you know, starting to make some money in these markets. And I make sure everybody has all the fuel they need every single week to do so. All right. If there are setups in the market, I'm going to bring them to you. Okay. There's no other freaking channel on YouTube that does that. I know for a fact. It's absolute just free value. Please just remember to leave a like on the video so we can hit that YouTube algorithm. Appreciate you. All right. But yeah, that is hood over here. We're looking to buy pullbacks. I'm just going to point out, you see this wide bodied green bar. Every time that I can really point to, every time you got one of these wide bodied green bars here on the weekly time frame, you know, and they were the first one. I'm not talking about the second week there. If you got a pullback the following week, got bought. All right. Like, you know, right here, big, you know, bullish engulfing wide body green bar. You got a pullback. It got bought. Okay. Right here, almost a bullish engulfing candle, but wide body bar. You got a pullback. It got bought. Right over here, you gapped up. You had a pullback. I'm not going to say it got bought that week, but it did get bought up the following week. Right over here, bullish engulfing big wide body bar, had the gap up and then pulled back. Didn't get bought up that week, but it did the following week. What happened over here? Bullish engulfing wide body bar, gapped up, pulled back the following week. Okay. And then, you know, it did end up bouncing. I'm not going to say it's the cleanest move, but look, guys, you know, literally back up next week's high. You just caught a 7% move. You know, that's all you need on this ticker to get paid, guys. If you catch a pullback over here and then you catch a 7% move, that's $5. I'll do the math right here for you. June calls 55C. They will be 80 to 90% on a $5 move. You catch your $7 to $8 move, we're talking 60 to 80%. Are you happy? Are you happy with that? I know I'll be happy with that. Okay. But you know, I think it's very possible if we see the pullback this week. I mean, I'm going to be buying it. All right. You know, I'm just going to be adding to June calls here. We took off the May calls. But yeah, if we see the pullback, I think the solid shot, we get another decent ass week going here. And if it doesn't happen this following week, I think it's going to happen the week after that. Okay. So next 1 to 2 weeks, if you see a pullback over here on hood, you don't have to do anything, but you know, I'll personally be buying it. I was early on this play over here, pounding the table on it. And now that it's happening, I want to milk this guy for what it's got. And this, you know, I just pointed out kind of the thesis there. All of these big wide body green bars here, especially the bullish engulfing candlesticks, you got the pullbacks the following week and they got bought up pretty much every, like, you know, I could just keep going. They get bought up every single time. This is the first one. Oh, there you go. So yeah, even if it's just a little bit of that move, I'm looking to play that. I think, you know, 5 to 10% on the stock over here, that's enough to pull out another 50 to 100% gainer in a safe manner over there in terms of options. Okay. The next one I have for you is going to be Rivian. All right, Rivian, guys, since its inception, it is not set up like this. I have not seen it. I have been trading Rivian this whole entire time. I'm not going to say I really traded during that. All right, but I've definitely traded some of these potential reversal setups, and I have not seen one like this. Okay, the last one, I saw was this guy, and the one before that, you had this spike over here. And I'll just tell you, newsflash, none of them seem to amount to anything. But I'm telling you right now, we have not had this tight of a base that has gone on for this long on this stock. This is over a year at this point, about a year. It's been basing out in this pennant. You're getting really tight here. You see how your moving averages, weekly time frame, you're just going back and forth around them, guys. That's what you see before you get the expansion. All this thing needs to really do is break out here, and to be safe, I'm just going to say break above the top of that weekly wick. You probably are going to push up to that pivot high at 1665. So, right over here, 1534, break above 1534. I think this thing's going to start having a really good time. I think it's going to follow one of these pullbacks. If it follows the pullback, well, not one of these pullbacks, I think it's going to follow one of these scenarios. If it follows the pullback scenario, you have an opportunity. And, I think it's very likely that this thing will be bought. It's been building out monthly and weekly divergence since, I'm not going to say since its inception over here on the weekly on the monthly time frame, but, for a very long time now, it has been building this out. And yeah, I think price action is kind of just telling us that this is basing before a massive move. So I'm going to keep it on my radar. And if Tesla's going to be moving, I think this could be a sympathy to that over the coming weeks. All right, so put it on your radar. This is going to be a potential money printer, and we're going to keep it on the radar. All right. Second to last here. Well, actually, never mind. I have a few more for you. I got you guys. I'll give you guys plenty of fuel. Okay, I told you. You will have everything you need to pull a profit in this market. Whether you're trading the indices, you're trading futures, NQES, you trade them off of SPY and QQ. That's what I do, and I have a pretty darn good time. Whether you're trading options, guess what? You have plenty of trade ideas. You know where the Mag 7 stocks are like. You have so many ways in these videos to pull out profit from the market, and I give you specific game plans on probably 5 to 10 trade ideas every single weekly update going into the following week. You guys got what it takes. I believe in you. Okay, I believe in you. Just do what you know you got to do with the information I'm giving you, and you're gonna have a good time. All right, and if you don't know how to, feel free to message on Twitter. I'll do my best to help you out. If you're having, and again, if you want the more personalized approach, I will do my best to just help you out in real time whenever you need it. All right. But over here on Bros, BROS, I think this thing is probably going to be continuing higher after this. All right. So, you could mark out this high right here. Point is, you got this little cup and handle kind of pattern going on here. I'm just going to keep my, level there on 65.14. If it breaks above 65.14, probably going to run to that next area. We could see these reactions, and you got the gap above it. You got the big move under it when you couldn't hold it. Okay, and you got the gap through that breakout level right there. So we're going to be watching 68.47. If you break above 65.14, we are going to watch for a move up to 68.47. And from there, 72.72. On the weekly chart, this thing looks like it's getting ready here. You have, your little move up, and you've been basing above that little move up ever since. You're basing above the short-term weekly moving average here. You recovered the 21 EMA. And as we can see, the cloud just never flipped bearish over here. This thing is getting ready for that little rounded style bottom. It's getting ready to pump over here, in my personal opinion, okay? So keep it on your radar. Next one we're going to be talking about is Carvana, all right? So just watch it into 260.80 this week. That is going to be a key spot, all right? So not only where is that, your first sign over here that you start breaking down off of earnings, okay? So that's around that earnings gap over there. It is also exactly where you based out, right underneath this resistance, right underneath 260.80 over here before getting your pop right off of earnings. Now you're pulling back. Premiums aren't going to be juiced. They're always going to be juiced because it's Carvana, but they're not going to be so jacked to the gills from earnings anymore. So that is a good thing. But yeah, on this pullback, we're going to look for buyers, whether it, makes a new high right away or not. You're going to be able to probably buy this dip in between 260.80 and these daily 21, which I'm just going to mark out another level underneath there. You're going to be watching down. You know what? I'm just going to say right over here, okay? In between 237 If 260.80 does not hold, you're going to be watching for this next level to hold at 244.23. If that does not hold, 237.99. I think it's much more likely that this whole area right here is probably going to bring buyers back into the mix, and then you end up popping up to new highs over the next probably 2 weeks, if I had to guess, with how this week candle just closed out there. Okay. And that would, or the next week you just, push straight into it and then, close up somewhere over here, 280, go from 270 to 280. It's not too big of a candle. And then the following week, you extend off of that. Could also look like that, okay? The last one I am really going to be paying attention to this week is going to be cost. Okay, so cost over here is something that had been basing out over here above the 200 daily moving average, above the weekly moving averages right over here. And then you just broke above it, all right? So that was last week. And then this week, we spent the whole time just consolidating here above the breakout level, okay? So 995 to 1,000 is what I was telling you guys to watch for a retest of, and that is where you want to be putting on the long risk here. That's where you want to be doing. So now the next step is to get your pop above 1018. If you could take out this high over here, okay? So, that was the original first take profit level over there. Silly me did not end up doing that, and I waited. I'm just, still holding to these guys. But the next step really is to take out this high here, which is exactly at 1018. If you can, you're probably going to hop up into this next area, which is going to align with the 0.786 Fibonacci retracement around 1,034. All right. That's where you're watching next. Okay. So if you could pop above here, you're going to watch for that move, but more likely than not, you're going to start just your move to all-time highs. More likely than not, following this congestion, you get the expansion. Okay, that's what I'm going to be looking for next. And whether it just drags itself up, like, something like that, or whether it does one of these things where, in a 1 to 2 weeks, you're all the way up at new all-time highs. One or the other, you're watching for that upside from here. It's a bullish setup, and we should see further upside, okay? Other than that, guys, we do have CPI coming in on Tuesday, and then we also do have PPI coming in on Thursday. All right, so that is both going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time before the bell. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed today's video. Again, if you want to come trade with me, that link is going to be down below. But yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to leave a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel, welcome aboard to our community. I think you're going to have a really good time here on this channel. There is not another channel like us on YouTube. With that being said, I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.